A billionaire CEO sat across from a woman who nervously apologized for bringing her young son on their blind date. She thought it would be the end of the evening before it even began. But what happened next? It changed not only their lives but an entire community forever. Sophie never imagined life would turn out this way. At 29, she carried the kind of exhaustion that settled into her bones, the weight of single motherhood pulling her shoulders down, but never breaking her spirit. Each morning began the same, the shrill beep of her alarm at 5:30 a.m., the quick shuffle to the kitchen of her tiny apartment, and the soft whisper of encouragement she gave herself in the mirror. Just one more day. You can do this for Liam. Her apartment was modest, just 2 small bedrooms, but she filled it with warmth. On the walls hung Liam's colorful crayon drawings, superheroes, stick figures, and his dream house, a big one, with a garden and a swing set. They couldn't afford much, but Sophie always made sure her son felt safe, loved, and inspired to dream. Her days were a constant balancing act. In the mornings, she worked at a local cafe, serving coffee with a tired but genuine smile to customers who rarely knew her name. By the afternoon, she'd rush to her second job at a small bookstore, stacking shelves while Liam colored quietly in the back corner. Money was tight: rent, bills, groceries, but Sophie's greatest challenge wasn't just survival. It was the guilt of never having enough time for her son, even though everything she did was for him. Despite her struggles, Sophie had a quiet nobility about her. She was always the first to notice when a neighbor needed help. She'd lend a hand to carry groceries for the elderly lady upstairs, or quietly slip an extra sandwich into the lunch of a struggling coworker. Acts of kindness were her way of reminding herself and Liam that even in hardship, they could choose compassion, but behind her smile was a loneliness she rarely admitted, even to herself. 5 years earlier, her husband had walked out without explanation, leaving her with a toddler, unpaid bills, and shattered trust. Since then, Sophie had closed her heart to the idea of love. Romance, she thought, was for people who had the luxury of free evenings and babysitters. It was Sophie's best friend, Clara, who insisted she give dating one more chance. "You've carried the world on your shoulders for too long," Clara said one evening over tea. "You deserve someone who sees you, not just your struggles." Reluctantly, Sophie agreed to a blind date. But when the evening arrived, her babysitter canceled last minute. She considered canceling too. Her heart pounded as she looked at Liam playing on the floor, unaware of her dilemma. The thought of showing up with her son felt mortifying. Wouldn't it scare any man away? Still, something in her whispered, "Show up. Be honest. If he can't handle your reality, then he isn't meant for you." So, clutching Liam's small hand, Sophie walked into the restaurant that evening with her head held high, though her stomach churned with nerves. And there, sitting at a corner table, was Daniel. She didn't know yet that he was a billionaire CEO. To her, he was just a stranger with kind eyes. But this meeting was about to change everything. Before we continue with this incredible journey, I spent countless hours researching and crafting this story to bring you something truly meaningful. If stories like this touch your heart and you want to see more acts of kindness that restore faith in humanity, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. It means the world to me and helps these important stories reach others who need to hear them. Now, let's see what happens next Have you ever witnessed an act of kindness that completely changed your perspective? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to read them. The restaurant was softly lit, with warm golden lamps casting a glow across polished wooden tables. The clinking of glasses and low hum of conversation filled the air as Sophie walked in, holding Liam's hand tightly. She felt every pair of eyes on her, the single mom bringing her child to a blind date. Her cheeks flushed, and she almost turned around, but Liam squeezed her fingers and whispered, "It's okay, Mommy." At a corner table, Daniel stood up as soon as he saw her. Tall, well-dressed, with an air of quiet confidence, he smiled politely. Sophie's first words tumbled out quickly, almost an apology. "I'm so sorry. I couldn't find a babysitter. I understand if this is, well, too much." For a moment, Daniel studied the little boy beside her. Liam was shy but curious, clutching his toy dinosaur. Instead of frowning or excusing himself, Daniel bent down to Liam's level. "Hey there, buddy," he said warmly. "That's a pretty cool dinosaur you've got. Is he coming to dinner with us, too?" Liam's face lit up instantly. "Yeah. His name's Spike. He's hungry, too." Sophie blinked, stunned. Most men she knew would have sighed or looked uncomfortable. But Daniel, he was laughing with her son, making him feel welcome. Relief washed over her, though embarrassment lingered. As they sat down, Sophie expected awkward silence. Instead, Daniel asked about her day, about Liam's favorite books, and even admitted he hadn't been on a blind date in years. "I was nervous, too," he confessed with a chuckle. "But I think Spike's making this easier." For the first time in years, Sophie felt seen, not judged. Halfway through the meal, Liam grew restless. Sophie apologized again, fumbling to pull out a coloring book from her bag. Daniel stopped her gently. "Don't worry. I've got this." He called the waiter over and ordered a small bowl of ice cream chocolate, with extra sprinkles. Liam's eyes widened. "Wow, thank you," the boy said, his mouth already smeared with chocolate. It was such a small gesture, but Sophie felt tears prick her eyes. It wasn't about the ice cream, it was about the way Daniel treated her son. Not as a burden, but as part of the evening. Sophie tried to explain. "Most people, they don't really understand what it's like. They think I should hide this part of my life, that it's too much. But Liam is everything to me." Daniel nodded. His expression softened. "You don't have to apologize for loving your son. Honestly, it says a lot about who you are, and it makes me respect you even more." That night, conversation flowed easier than Sophie expected. They talked about books, about the little joys in life, about dreams they hadn't dared to say out loud. She didn't know who Daniel really was, how much power and wealth he carried in his world. To her, he was simply a kind man who made her feel less alone. When dinner ended, Daniel insisted on walking Sophie and Liam home. As they reached her building, Sophie thanked him sincerely. "You didn't have to be so kind," she said softly. Daniel smiled. "Kindness is never wasted, Sophie. Sometimes it's the smallest things that matter most." Liam piped up, grinning. "Can we see you again?" Sophie blushed, but Daniel didn't hesitate. "I'd like that very much." And with that, a spark was lit, one that would soon grow into something neither of them could have imagined. What would you do if you discovered someone with incredible strength and character living in such difficult circumstances? Would you step in or stay distant? Let me know your thoughts below. I read every comment. Over the next few weeks, Daniel and Sophie saw more of each other. Their meetings were simple coffee in the park while Liam played on the swings, short walks through the neighborhood, evenings spent talking after Sophie's shifts. Daniel never tried to impress her with grand gestures. Instead, he showed up with consistency, kindness, and patience. What surprised Sophie most was how Daniel treated Liam. He wasn't just polite, he was present. He listened to Liam's endless dinosaur facts, held his hand crossing the street, and even helped him build a cardboard fort in Sophie's tiny living room one Saturday. After noon, the neighbors noticed. Mrs. Thompson from down the hall whispered, "Sophie, that man seems different. You deserve someone who actually cares." Others were less supportive. A coworker scoffed, "Men like him don't stick around when they realize what it really means to date a single mom." Those words lingered in Sophie's mind, feeding her fears. Still, she couldn't deny how her heart felt lighter. For the first time in years, laughter filled her home, not just Liam's giggles, but her own. One evening, after putting Liam to bed, Sophie confessed, "I don't even know why you're spending time with us. You could be with anyone, Daniel. Someone with less baggage." Daniel looked at her intently. "Sophie, you're not baggage. You're strength. You've built a life for your son from nothing. That's more impressive than anything money can buy." His words made her chest tighten. She didn't know it yet, but Daniel's own wealth and influence were far beyond what she imagined. He hadn't told her partly out of fear that it would change how she saw him, but just as things seemed to be settling, reality struck. One Friday afternoon, Sophie arrived at the bookstore to find her manager waiting. "I'm sorry, Sophie," he said gently. "Sales are down. We have to cut hours, starting with yours." Her stomach dropped. That job, small as it was, had helped keep them afloat. Now, with only the cafe income, bills would quickly overwhelm her. That night she sat at her kitchen table, unpaid notices spread before her, tears falling silently. Liam was asleep. She didn't want him to see her break. Daniel noticed her distant mood the next day. When he asked, Sophie tried to brush it off. "It's nothing. Just life." But her eyes betrayed her. Finally she admitted, "I lost one of my jobs. I don't know how I'm going to manage rent next month. I don't want to depend on anyone, Daniel. I've had to fight for everything on my own." Daniel's heart ached hearing her words. He wanted to help, but he knew offering money directly would wound her pride. She was proud of her resilience of fighting her own battles. So instead, he suggested something different. "What if I help in another way? You've told me how much you love baking. What if we explore that? Maybe it's time to build something of your own." Sophie shook her head immediately. "That's impossible. I can't risk it. I don't have the resources." Daniel didn't push, but his mind was already turning. He knew he had the means to give Sophie and Liam a better life, but if he moved too fast, she might walk away. Meanwhile, whispers started swirling in the community. One neighbor muttered, "Who is this guy, really? He doesn't fit here." Sophie overheard and felt the sting of doubt. Was Daniel really being genuine, or was this just pity disguised as kindness? The growing closeness between them was undeniable, but so was the tension. Sophie wrestled with fear of trusting again, fear of losing what little stability she had, fear of exposing Liam to disappointment. And Daniel? For the first time in years, he was afraid too. Afraid that if Sophie discovered his true identity, a billionaire CEO, she would walk away, thinking his kindness was only charity. Have you ever had to overcome obstacles to help someone you cared about? What challenges did you face, and what did you learn from the experience? Share your story in the comments. Your words might inspire someone else. The following week, Daniel invited Sophie and Liam to a small community fair. Bright lights lined the streets, music played, and children ran between stalls clutching cotton candy. Sophie smiled for the first time in days, watching Liam laugh as he tried his hand at a ring toss. Daniel pulled Sophie aside, his voice gentle. "You've carried so much on your own. What if you didn't have to anymore?" She looked away, tension in her shoulders. "Daniel, I'm used to people offering help, only to take it back or expect something in return. I can't risk that for me or for Liam." Daniel wanted to tell her everything about his company, his wealth, the world he came from. But he also wanted her to know that his care wasn't tied to money. So instead he took a small step. "There's a bakery space for rent near the cafe where you work," he said. "I know it's your dream. If you're willing, I'd love to invest in you, not just as a business, but as a person I believe in." Sophie's eyes filled with tears. She shook her head fiercely. "I can't let you do that. It feels like charity, and I don't want Liam to think we depend on someone else to survive." Before Daniel could respond, Liam ran up, tugging his mom's sleeve. "Mommy, look what I won." He held up a stuffed bear, grinning proudly. In that moment, Daniel realized it wasn't about offering Sophie a rescue. It was about showing her she already had the strength. He just needed to walk beside her. The turning point came 2 days later. Sophie was on her way home from the cafe when she saw a newspaper headline in the corner store. "Daniel Hart, CEO of Hartwell Industries to launch new community program." Her heart stopped. The photo was unmistakable. It was him. The man she thought was just another professional searching for companionship. That night, she confronted him. "Why didn't you tell me who you really are? Do you have any idea how humiliating this feels? I've been pouring out my struggles, and all this time you're a billionaire." Daniel's face was calm, but pained. "Sophie, I didn't tell you because I wanted you to see me, not my bank account. And I wanted to see you, the real you. And Sophie, you are extraordinary." She shook her head, tears streaming. "I don't know if I can trust that. I don't know if you see me as a partner or a project." For the first time since they met, Sophie pulled back. Daniel gave her space, though his heart ached. It was Liam, in his innocent wisdom, who helped bridge the divide. One evening he crawled into Sophie's lap. "Mommy," he whispered, "I like Daniel. He makes you smile, and he makes me feel like I have a dad again. Can we please not let him go?" The next day, Sophie found a surprise outside her door. The neighbors had gathered, bringing small gifts, ingredients, recipes, even an old oven someone no longer used. Mrs. Thompson said, "We heard about your dream, Sophie. Maybe it's time you let others be kind to you, the way you've been kind to us all these years." That broke something open inside her. Kindness wasn't weakness. Accepting help didn't make her less of a mother. It showed Liam what community, love, and trust really meant. With Daniel's guidance and the community's support, Sophie opened her bakery. It started small, a cozy little shop on a busy street corner, but the smell of fresh bread and her famous apple pie soon filled the neighborhood. Daniel never flaunted his role, choosing instead to stand quietly in the background, cheering her on. Opening day was emotional. Liam cut the ribbon with giant scissors, grinning proudly. Sophie looked around at her neighbors, her son, and Daniel, and whispered to herself, "We did it." The bakery became more than just a business. It was a gathering place where neighbors shared stories over coffee, where Sophie offered free pastries to struggling families, where kindness grew and multiplied. Daniel, meanwhile, found himself transformed, too. For years he had lived in boardrooms and luxury, disconnected from ordinary life. Sophie and Liam reminded him of what truly mattered: love, connection, family. Months later, Sophie found herself sitting at the same restaurant where it all began. Only this time, she wasn't apologizing. Liam was laughing with Daniel over dessert, and Sophie sat back, her heart full. She realized something powerful. Kindness had brought them here. Her willingness to show up honestly, Daniel's choice to embrace her reality. The community's support, each act had built upon the other, creating a chain reaction of love and transformation. And now, Sophie wasn't just surviving. She was thriving. More importantly, she was teaching Liam that second chances, though rare, are always possible when kindness leads the way. This story shows how one act of kindness can change everything. What's one way you could make a difference in someone's life today? Challenge yourself and share your commitment in the comments. You never know who your story might inspire. A year later, Sophie's bakery was thriving. The shop's little bell jingled constantly as customers streamed in: neighbors, office workers, families, all drawn by the warmth as much as the food. On one wall, framed proudly, hung Liam's crayon drawing of a big house with a garden and a swing set. Sophie was no longer the exhausted woman barely getting through each day. She carried herself with confidence now, her apron dusted with flour, her laugh filling the air. She had built something not just for herself, but for her son, her community, and her future. Daniel remained by her side, not as a savior, but as a partner. He continued his work as a CEO, but he changed the way he ran his company. Inspired by Sophie, he launched programs that funded local businesses and supported single parents. He realized true wealth wasn't in profit margins, it was in the lives touched by generosity. And Liam? He grew up knowing that his mom was a fighter, that kindness was strength, and that love could find you when you least expected it. He often told Sophie, "One day I'll run the bakery with you." Together, the three of them weren't just a family. They were proof of how compassion could rebuild broken pieces into something beautiful. Sophie's story reminds us that kindness isn't always about grand gestures. Sometimes it's as simple as showing patience to a nervous mother, or believing in someone when they can't yet believe in themselves. Her journey from survival to thriving proves that love and compassion can transform not just individuals, but entire communities. And Daniel's journey shows us that even the most powerful people can learn and grow when they open their hearts to the richness of everyday life. When kindness meets love, second chances are born, and sometimes those second chances change everything. Stories like this remind us that extraordinary kindness exists all around us. If this touched your heart, please like this video. It helps more people discover these inspiring stories. Subscribe for more tales of human kindness that will restore your faith in humanity. And most importantly, look for opportunities in your own life to be someone's unexpected blessing. What act of kindness will you perform this week? Let me know in the comments below. I can't wait to read your stories. Thank you for watching. And remember, you have the power to change someone's entire world.